Gotta fuck with you. Gotta fuck with you. Gotta fuck with you, yeah. Gotta fuck with you. Gotta fuck with you. Gotta fuck with you. I gotta fuck with you, yeah. Mind your language, by the way, niggas. Last video of this thought experiment. How my niggas will become Nazarites up in this motherfucker. You know what it is, up in this motherfucker, right? How my niggas is gonna become Nazarites. I gotta fuck with you, SHEMBE'S. This is what it's about. What I touched on in the previous videos, right? First two videos of this thought experiment is basically explaining how the Bible is like this middleman. The Bible literature is this middleman that between real people, real spirits, real persons, real spirit persons. So how the Bible was written by a spirit person, inspired by a spirit person, and this project was to put this down and consecrate his intentions and his ideas about how he, the spirit person, intends to become. And on the other side, this document is now, this piece of literature is now used as a test to see which of the sons of God will respond accordingly. And then the man called SHEMBE'S responds and becomes the groom of heaven. Later on, we have, because of this, the groom of heaven sets up a group of people called Amanazareta. They take a special vow to observe certain customs and rituals that are not easy to, and by any stretch of the imagination, not easy to do, not easy to observe, not easy to keep. But they do this anyway for the sake of the original author of the spirit that inspired the writings. To when he's revealed, they show themselves to be prepared to follow this particular person. And what I revealed in the previous videos is the fact that the groom of heaven makes way for the bride. And these are two real personalities. Anybody that reads the Bible literature would understand that and see that, oh, Jesus came as the groom and was making way for a son of man that would come eminently to establish the kingdom of heaven and earth, or become the king of the Jews. Right. So this is in the story. So the problem that people have when they read the story, they've mistaken it for reality. What I mean is that they now sit there and believe that it's true. And I made the statement in the previous video to say, look, the Bible was written not so that we believe in it, or believe that the events detailed in the Bible are true. The Bible was written so that we may be equipped to recognize who is true. And who is true is basically, like I'm saying, it's done through this process of the spirits reading the literature and responding accordingly. The people, the spirits that actually respond accordingly are the true ones. And what I pointed out was the fact that in Matthew 24, somewhere in Matthew 24, Jesus describes how the coming of the Son of Man that he's making way for, the Son of Man that he refers to as his helper, or who he refers to as the bride. When this bride shows up, he's going to be accompanied. He's going to be accompanied by his holy ones. And SHEMBE'S is a man that sets up the Amanazareta, the ones who've been set apart, that have taken a special vow to observe certain customs. And these customs, basically, what I want to point out, are, in Zulu, if you want to communicate, you say what you've got to say, but you always use a ritual to put what you're saying in context. So if I'm speaking to you now, face to face, I can say something and you'll pick up from my tone and what's happening around me in the context of the story that I'm telling, what I mean and how I'm using the words. Right? For example, if I'm saying right, in the context of what I'm saying now, if I'm talking about SHEMBE'S, I'm saying the Sabbath prayer. Can you just hold on? So where was I just got interrupted. I have kids around me and they just like wilding out. It's like, yeah, we wanna play with you. So yeah. So it's always cool, but I gotta just put this train of thought down. So I'm gonna be quite the ball now for them. Like, he's busy working. Why is he always working? Right. But this is actually for me. This is actually a way of me. This is what I call fun, because I'm trying to find a way to express things that are somewhat to the conventional mind blasphemous, but presented in a way and see how people would respond. And I think that's the idea. That's the hope, that people actually get to understand what I'm trying to say. So, point I was making is the fact that SHEMBE'S sets up these Amanazaretas and he shows them the way to the true creator. And he presents to the Amanazareta a man in a dress, wearing shoes, that comes to respond to the prayer of the Amanazareta. And the prayer of the Amanazareta is very simple. SHEMBE'S prayer is basically what you would call the voice of the groom. Why do we say the voice of the groom? Because SHEMBE, being the groom of heaven, is the one that is asking the bride, the coming Christ, the coming immortal king, or who the Amanazareta referred to as Nkosi Yasekuphakameni, asking that particular individual to respond to the prayer. The only thing that they ask from this particular individual is, alikhumbule indlu kasenza ngakhona nodingane echithikileyo. As you can see, that's what it's about. Alikhumbule indlu kasenza ngakhona nodingane. What was the heaven on earth? What was the Zulu kingdom? Please re-establish it. So this is a very similar thing. If you read the context of the Bible story in the literature, Jesus was claiming that the Son of Man would come and re-establish what was Israel, and the coming Son of Man would be the King of the Jews. Right? That's basically the idea. Somebody might say, but no, that's not right, because Jesus talks about them being accompanied by angels. And it's like, what people don't understand about angels, the difference between angels and mankind is, an angel is a man that possesses the spirit of one of the two sons of God, spiritual sons of God. So the two spiritual sons of God are what we can refer to as angels. So what Amanazareta don't really perceive is that they are the angels that are actually accompanying, that are prepared to accompany and assist the coming bride of heaven, who they refer to as Umakoti Wasisudu. So the reason why I'm speaking from outside looking in is that I want to give anybody paying attention to this, listening to this, the idea that they must understand how a person should perceive Nazareth and what it's actually about. So what I was trying to point out before I got interrupted by the kids was the fact that when you communicate in Zulu, what the spirit does is basically they'll put down what you call folk tale or stories, and they pass these stories from generation to generation. And this is similar with the Bible. The only difference with the Bible is that at some point, the original author, the custodian of the stories, decided to inspire people to copy it down, preserve it, and translate it, and get it into the format that it's in now. And there's a whole lot of effort to do that, right? So there's the only difference, but in principle, it's the same thing. Africans, what the spirit does, it puts things down, is what we call consecration. It tells stories. Now, these stories are always put into context by rituals. Rituals doesn't have to be an animal dying or anything like that. It has to do with actions that they take in a sort of religious way. They say it's like, for example, I give you an example, baptism. The act of baptism is a ritual. It is a ritual. It's done in a particular way. It's done for a particular purpose. There's a particular significance and a meaning behind baptism. And those who don't know, I'm going to say something off the cuff. Baptism, what the baptism that John the Baptist was doing to mankind as they come repent, he was saying to them, look, the two sons of God created life out of the water. You too, fleshly mankind, you don't have the spirits of the two sons of God, but you're mankind, you can have the right to become the two sons of God. And this is what I'm pointing out, to say that's what, Jesus did. He came to show mankind, a way to become truly two sons of God. But in the context of reality, when we look at the Zulu people, we are the two sons of God. We look at the African people, we are the two sons, spiritual sons, spirit sons of God. And this is why people find it very difficult to understand how we believe in what people would call ancestors. We don't believe people pass away and go to heaven somewhere. If you lived and you lose your body, you suffer mortality. You continue to live on afterwards, and you continue in activities with your spirit family after you have passed on. And that responsibility normally is what we call oversight, or supporting the primary function of life, or supporting those who are alive, who are awake, and engaging actively in activities during life. As a person olele, who's asleep, you are there actually making supplications for those who are awake. So this is the principle, and this is why Shembe actually has this thing called Untitled Chapter, because there's two principal functions of the spirit. It's what you're doing when you're awake and what you're doing when you're sleeping. So abalele, those who have passed away, those who have left their bodies behind for an extended period of time, or don't have access to their own body to participate in the actions of life, those people are very much part of the game of life, but their role is being a support, acting as a support. You see, the same way people don't pay attention. When you make a prayer and you're like, oh God, please help me, somebody's got to hear your prayer. Somebody has to be listening in. And this is what I'm saying is the function of those abalel. They make themselves available to pay attention to those who are awake and make supplications if required. So this is the fundamental belief system of what it is to be African and Zulu. So there is no such thing as I'm going, my spirit goes to a spiritual place called heaven. The fundamental belief is the fact that all of us, awake and asleep, are pressing on towards a place in time where we can be able to live freely in the kingdom of heaven. In Mbuso. So that's what we are pressing on towards. This is what Shembe talks about. He talks about Lelo Lizwi Elizai. There's a dirge that he put down in Sikabela. Eti kepangi yatanda. Kepangi yatanda. Ugolibon na lilo. So basically it's like, look man, Noah was able to go into the ark with all the animals and everything. But my heart, why is my heart remaining outside of the ark? Why does my heart refuse me to go into the ark and join the animals that were called by Noah? Please Lord, remember me, because I would like to see the kingdom that is coming. So what I'm trying to say is that what people have not perceived from reading the Bible, heaven is a place in time where the two sons of God and those who are counted worthy to become two sons of God will live on earth, here on earth, in a paradise on earth, in the presence of their God. And there God will have his final destination. He'll be the Son of Man. That Spirit of God, the Spirit of the custodian of God, will live in a particular individual and take up permanent residence in the person. What I mean by permanent residence is that what happens to the spirit is immortal, but the flesh is mortal. So what the spirit does, it takes on the flesh, and like a snake, it prunes the flesh. So when the flesh gets too old and withers, the spirit moves on and keeps moving on, taking on new bodies, new servants. There's always a new servant of God rising up that God has to use. But what I'm saying, the ultimate objective is that the true God and his true Son will take up permanent residence. So that point in time where the two sons and the spirits can rest from having to suffer mortality, that is what we call in this origin. That is what we call Elis vi Elisa. So Shembe will say in one of his dirties, Kepania Tanda. By the way, I would love to see that kingdom that is coming. Right. So I didn't mean to digress too much. The reason why I'm jumping into this fundamental doctrine that spirits alive and awake and asleep, alive and so-called dead, are pressing on towards this point in time where the spirits can live together in harmony on a paradise on earth and escape mortality and live a happy life forever and ever and ever. Right. This is, by the way, the promise the principle that's indicated by the Bible story. That's how the story ends. So now there's people, true spirit, that read the story and take actions to become the characters in the story. This is where the book of Revelations is very important. I'm going to read out the book of Revelations. If you read the entire Bible literature, all the way from the Old Testament to the New Testament, it's all, and what I would like to say to anybody that is confused, like this guy, this called Wiki does commentaries on Christian matters, is the Bible does not instruct a person on how to live. No, it's not a set of instructions and rules. None of the content from Genesis all the way down to Jude, the book of Jude, none of these words and these things are directed to the reader. So what I'm trying to say, this is a story that has a context, that has a setting, and there are incidents that happen, there are thoughts that are relayed in a story, and you need to put yourself in a story and understand what is happening in the story. However, none of the things that are said to the personalities in the story are actually directed to you. For example, the letters of Paul to the congregations, Romans, Galatians, Ephesians, Thessalonians, all those letters are not directed to you, the reader. They are directed to the people that were living in Thessaly, Rome, at the particular time. So what you need to do is put yourself in the context of the time and understand, okay, perhaps this was the context, and this is what he's saying, and for what reasons is he saying things he does. Understand what he's saying and what he's complaining about, and get the picture, and get the moral of the story. And once you get the moral of the story, you can come out of the story now back to reality and be like, that was an interesting situation. We see what happened there. What then should I do? So it requires the person now to come out of that and now think for himself and say, okay, what is applicable in my situation? What have I learned from that? And how can I apply it here? Is it worthwhile applying it here? And this is what I'm saying, that the point I'm trying to make, that anybody that reads the literature, is about knowing who is true and becoming, for demonstrating the principle, getting the principle from the story, and then choosing to take their own lives and demonstrate the principle that was in the story and demonstrate it in reality. So this is why guys like Shembe and the original author are great. Those spirits are great because They are the first ones, pride and gloom, to set this example. But now what I'm saying is, incidentally, there are people who are demonstrating the principle anyway. There are these holy ones that are going to accompany the true God, the original author of the writings, the one that made the effort to say, God, this is my intention, the one that made the effort to consecrate his intentions. There will be these ones that show up. So what I had explained was that among Nazareta are people who have taken a special vow and to take up some very difficult. Let me just pause here. So, among Nazareta to take on very difficult regulations. And what I want to close this video up on and say, the purpose of the customs and these regulations is to, in Zulu they say, uhloniphisa, put in context what was consecrated in the Bible. Makes sense? So what it does, what I said before, is that in Zulu, there's folk tales, stories that are told and passed on from generation by word of mouth. But to make people assist the generations that come, or the true custodians of these stories, the spirits that are the custodians of the stories, to assist them to be able to remember and apply the principle appropriately, the principles derived from these stories. They also give the people customs to preserve. So the story and the custom together is like saying, this is the words, this is the context, this gives you the meaning and what should be done. So Nazareta is basically contextualizing. It's the customs that accompany what has been consecrated in the Bible. So because of these two things, it puts in context what must be done. It's a message. Somebody like me would be like, I get the message. I see what has been consecrated. I see how it's been consummated. And I know how to respond. I'll give you an example. If it weren't for Nazareth, somebody could actually, a guy like me could actually believe he's a Jew and then go and live in Israel and become a Jew and go try and become king of those people. Okay, to put all my efforts in trying to reestablish the democratic nation of Israel. Or I could have done anything else. The point I'm trying to make is that it's very important to consummate what has been consecrated. It's very important to put in context what has been said. And how it's done in Zulu and in African custom is through customs and rituals. So let me give you an example now. Is that the Nazareta movement is said to be an illustration of what is to come. Right. So what Shembe is doing with the Nazareta movement is signaling to a particular generation of people to say, guys, this is what you need to do, right, to be able to realize the objectives of the Bible, a kingdom of heaven on earth. How is it going to happen? I'm going to break it down now. Let me just go to the display page. How is this going to happen? This is going to happen by what we have here is that we have the congregation. Right? The congregation has made up of 3 parts. Right? Those in white. Right, that's the principle. So the principle is that according to what's said, the entire world will be given white robes. And this comes from the idea in the book of Revelations. I want to just jump back to the book of Revelations. So what Shembe is actually doing, he's showing us through the customs of Nazareta how we need to respond to the book of the Bible, how we need to respond to the book of Revelation. So what I'm going to say now that the only book in the Bible that speaks to the reader. I just made the point that all the other books don't speak to the reader. You just have to kind of get into the story, understand what is happening, why this guy was doing this, why this guy was doing that, why he was saying this, why was he giving that advice, what is going on. Come out of it and be like, okay, that was interesting. What did I learn? What situation am I in, or what principles can I take from the story and apply in my life? So none of the stuff in the Bible can be taken as instruction. So I hate people. I'll give you an example. They will quote a verse in the Bible and say, this is what the Bible says. And then take that as an instruction to you and say, that's an instruction to me, and you nah, bro. You gotta process that first and be like, how is that? Put yourself in the context. What was happening there? How does that apply to me now? Because what's the context now? Don't just come here and just, I saw it in the Bible, and then now I'm gonna quote it, and then believe that God said. God didn't say shit, nigga. God just told your fucking story. Did you get the fucking point of the fucking story? I'm sorry, I'm getting passionate. Did you get the fucking point of the fucking story? Right. So, what I'm pointing out here is to say, Book of Revelation is the only book that speaks to the reader, and it says, chapter 1 of the book, right, a revelation. Right. Let me start at verse 2. Let me start at verse 3. Happy is the one who reads aloud, and those who hear the words of this prophecy, and who observe the things written in it, for the appointed time is near. So for the appointed time to fulfill the things that are written in the book of Revelation is near. And one of the things that Shembe set out to achieve is that at some point, I'm going to put it out here, after this, there's the 12 tribes of Israel, right? This is in chapter 7, right? And I heard a number of those who were sealed from the 12 tribes of Israel. After this I saw, look, a great crowd, which no man was able to number, out of all the nations and all the tribes and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, dressed in white robes. And they were, you see what I'm saying, they were palm branches in their hand, and they kept shouting with a loud voice, salvation we owe to our God who is seated on the throne and to the Lamb. And what I want to point out here is that what Shembe is doing is he's saying, guys, if you guys want to fulfill what is written in Revelations, the trick is that we need to respond. So people who are not Nazarites, and not Zulu, and not, are able to get the message. This is the message that I'm giving to anybody that may be listening to this. This is going to be 30 minutes long. Right? Is that at some point the entire world, from all the nations will be given white robes. So there are those who are represented as the ones who have received the white robes. But what Shembe does, he says these evangelists, the ministers, cocaines, right? Here in the white robe we have the virgin girls, the men, the women in the white robes, right? And then what's also been added recently because of the Nyazi faction is those in the blue robes. Light blue. Sometimes light blue. Right. So these represent the anointed ones. Right. And then these people represent, let me just put it out here. This was to point out the objective. Right. And then what's happening? So these are colorful. The evangelists are in the green robes. Right? Ministers in the blue robes. Kokelis with the black shoulder pattern, and the light blue robes. Right. So these light blue robes, it's said, I'm hearing this from the word in the street, says these are the guys who want to be part of the congregation but can't really observe the entire law of that's required for the white robe. Right. So we're putting this out. Right, men and young boys. Right, so here what we have here is inkosi, that is the first yasiphakameni. Right, in a colorful dress and shoes. Right. So this is what's called Makoti, pride of heaven. Right. So what's happening here is right. Those in color. So this is how the Sabbath prayer is conducted every day. So these here are basically read the prayer, which is basically the voice of the groom requesting the bride to make an intervention to re-establish the Zulu kingdom. Right, heaven and earth. Right. So this is what's happening. The objective of this ritual, I'm going to put it out here. Or custom, is a better word, is so that the entire world will be given white robes and right. This is what I'm trying to say. And depict how anybody watching this is the code. It's like I say, we've read the Bible, we know what happens in the Bible, we get the message. Shembe is showing us this is in principle. With this ritual, he's showing us how we implement and respond to the book of Revelation. Now, by the congregation of the Amanazareta, saying this prayer, right, the bride of heaven will come and respond. coming to respond. And the bride of heaven will be accompanied by the groom of heaven, who is not visible. So at face value, it just looks like it is, of course, as a Pagamani in the colorful dress and shoes, the bride of heaven, coming to respond. This here, he'll be the voice of the bride. So the bride, coming to declare umbuso wezulu. Respond to the request. This is what is done, right? You see? Right. So this is the ritual that is done every Sabbath. So what I want to point out is that these guys are an illustration. The objective is to be an illustration of what must happen to fulfill the book of Revelations. Alright, this is what I'm trying to say. Those are the two objectives. Right, objective is to be an illustration of what must happen to fulfill the book of Revelations, and so that the entire world will be given the white robes. They just say, people from all nations. That's what it is. Right. So now, let's just elaborate on this. So what I want to do now is that there are those who are committed to implementing or re-establishing the kingdom of heaven and earth. Right? Congregation. Right? Let me just point it out. People who participate in re-implementing the, let's just say, umbuso wezulu. Right? Those are given white robes. That's represented by the congregation. And in principle, it is those who participate in the Zulu social experience. Right. But now, why are there these colorful people? These colorful people are to clone peace that amongst these people who participate in re-implementing the Mbuso wezulu, the kingdom of heaven on earth, the kingdom of heaven on earth. Right? Among these people, there will be these, the anointed ones. Anointed ones. These, the green ones are representing the actors. Actors who tell stories that will minister to the congregation as well as the bride of heaven. Right, these are actors, right? This is the green. Right. Green robes. Right. Then we have the blue robes. These are the guys blue robes. These are musicians who tell stories that will minister to the congregation as well as the pride of heaven. You see, umkhokheli right? These are the leaders of skill creation, right? And in the light blue robes, these are light blue robes. These are the influencers and public figures that minister to the congregation and the pride of heaven. So these two will be given white robes. Will be given white robes. So these are all the people who participate as well in the Zulu social. So they take their skills and participate in the Zulu social. So these are the people who will be ministering to a person, right? To a person that has the heart of the founder of the Ubunaza movement, right? That shares in the attributes of the founder, right? This is the shoes, right? Shoes. And like a bride is willing to respond or commit himself to re-establishing Umbuso Wezulu. Right. So what do we do here? Actual So what am I saying? The objective of this ritual is to put in context what's going to happen. So even the bride of heaven will be dressed in the white robe and will be seated on the throne, which is the title Nkosi Yase Parliament. In the context of the Zulu social experiment, this is party 1, the custodian. course. Right. Party 1 of the Zulu social experiments, the custodian of the response to SHEMBE'S. See, this is what's going to happen in reality. So all of these people will wear the white robe. Alright, let me insert. Where but I think actually this one will be in a garment stained by blood. Alright, to symbolize his sacrifice. Right, actual pride of hair, but they will all wear the white robe. So this is the whole point, to get the whole world to wear the white robe. So what I am trying to point out is that the reason why Shembe performed this custom was to highlight specific things about the pride of heaven. That's why he made the pride of heaven different, to highlight specific things about certain people who will be part of the congregation, that be part of the voice of the groom, that minister to the bride. And then there'll be those who are part of the congregation and just participate in the activities. So these two activities, this is the activities of the groom, this is the activities of the bride. So those who respond, right, will be basically what we refer to as the bride. So Ubu Nazareta, let me put it this way. Ubu Nazareta is the groom. Right, this is the principal. And then this one here, the Zulu social experiment is the bride. So what's funny here is that this is basically what I'm saying, guys. So you guys see it. So this is just a shadow of what is the reality. The reality, there are those who participate in re-implementing the kingdom of heaven and earth. And there's going to be the leader of that, which is the bride, who will come and declare that the kingdom of heaven and earth is ready to be established. And there'll be those who have assisted him and those who have ministered to him, actors, musicians, content creators, right? Leaders of skill creation, people with skill and capabilities. These people will minister to the actual pride of heaven, and together they will be able to implement what has been consecrated in the book of Revelation and what has been consummated by the Nazareta movement, and they'll be able to make that a reality. So I hope you guys get that. So this is quite long. This was quite long and hectic, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Gotta fuck with you. I gotta fuck with you. Yeah. Alright, appreciate it, guys.